chosen one, you were not meant to hear this later. You were meant to hear it now. The timing of this message matters more than you realize because moments like this do not arrive randomly. Something within you already sensed that this season carries weight, that January is not just another page on the calendar, but a threshold demanding attention. This is not meant to frighten you, it is meant to awaken you. When God sends a warning, it is never to push you away, but to pull you closer before a shift takes place. Right now, many feel an unusual pressure in their spirit. Not panic, not confusion, but an inner nudge that says, "Do not delay." That nudge is not emotional noise. It is the same kind of inner alert God has used throughout history to prepare people for transition. Whenever God was about to move someone into greater responsibility, greater influence, or greater clarity, he first called their attention. He spoke before things changed. He warned before doors closed or opened, and those who listened found protection, growth, and advancement, while those who dismissed the signal often found themselves repeating cycles they were meant to outgrow. January carries this kind of weight because beginnings expose alignment. The start of anything reveals what is in order and what is not. This month has a way of revealing habits, attitudes, and decisions that quietly shaped the previous season. Some people sense excitement in January, others feel resistance, and some feel nothing at all. Yet even that numbness can be a signal. God often allows discomfort or restlessness when something must be corrected or strengthened. This is why ignoring the inner prompting right now would be costly, not because God is angry, but because timing matters when growth is involved. For the chosen one, warnings are never random interruptions, they are acts of mercy. Think of how often God gave people advance notice before major change. He did not wait for collapse before speaking. He sent messages ahead of time, giving space for repentance, realignment, and preparation. The warning itself was proof of care. If God did not care, he would remain silent. Silence is far more dangerous than correction. The fact that you are hearing this means you are still being guided. Many people misunderstand spiritual warnings because they confuse them with condemnation. Condemnation says you are finished. A warning says you are still being shaped. This message is not announcing loss, it is offering direction. January is functioning like a checkpoint, asking you to slow down inwardly even if life feels fast outwardly. What you choose to adjust now determines how smoothly you move into what comes next. Growth is not only about what you pursue, it is also about what you release. This is why the enemy often targets the start of a new season with distraction. Procrastination, comfort, and familiar patterns feel safer than obedience when obedience demands change. It is easy to promise yourself that you will deal with certain issues later, that you will pray more later, forgive later, commit later, but delay is one of the most effective tools used to keep people circling the same lessons. January exposes whether you are willing to respond now rather than postpone what you already know. You may have noticed repeated signs lately, conversations that struck a nerve, thoughts that would not leave, opportunities that required courage you felt unready to summon. These are not coincidences. God often repeats a message when he wants it understood, not feared. Repetition is not pressure, it is patience. The question is not whether God is speaking, but whether you are responding. If you feel a sense of urgency, that does not mean something terrible is coming. It means something important is near. Urgency often precedes elevation because elevation requires readiness. God does not lift people without first strengthening their foundation. That strengthening process can feel uncomfortable because it exposes weak areas. Yet exposure is not punishment, it is preparation. What is revealed can be healed. What is acknowledged can be changed. This is the moment to examine what you have been avoiding, not with shame, but with honesty. Are there disciplines you know you need to return to? Are there relationships that keep pulling you backward rather than forward? Are there dreams you buried because waiting became tiring? January asks these questions not to accuse you, but to realign you. Ignoring these inner checks does not stop destiny, but it can delay the route you take to reach it. Chosen one, you are still under divine care. The fact that you made it through what should have broken you is evidence of covering. Survival is not accidental. Preservation always has purpose attached to it. If God kept you, it was because something ahead still requires you. This warning is not announcing the end of your journey. It is adjusting your posture for the next stretch of it. Take this message seriously, but do not take it with fear. Take it with humility and courage. Ask yourself what obedience looks like right now, not later. Small adjustments made early prevent heavy corrections later. Alignment now saves effort later. God is not asking you to become perfect. He is asking you to become responsive.
If this message is reaching you clearly, do not brush it aside. Let it settle. Let it stir reflection. Let it move you toward action. This is the kind of message that should not be consumed casually. Engage with it. If something resonated deeply, acknowledge it. Share your thoughts. Let others know they are not alone in this season. Community strengthens discernment. This is only the beginning of the message. What comes next will explain why this warning matters so much and how spiritual resistance often intensifies during transition periods. Stay open. Stay grounded. Stay willing. What you do with this awareness will shape what unfolds next. As seasons shift, resistance often increases, not because you are doing something wrong, but because movement threatens stagnation. When God prepares to elevate someone, pressure frequently intensifies first. This is why January can feel heavy even when hope is present. The weight you feel is not meant to crush you, it is meant to train you. Transitions expose what cannot go with you. That exposure can feel uncomfortable, especially when familiar habits once provided comfort, even if they quietly limited growth. Spiritual conflict often becomes more subtle during these times. It rarely announces itself loudly. It works through fatigue, distraction, and excuses that sound reasonable. You may feel unusually tired even after rest. You may feel drawn to activities that numb rather than strengthen you. You may notice old patterns knocking again, asking for permission to return. This is not random. When elevation approaches, resistance tries to keep you occupied with lesser things so you miss the moment that requires clarity. Many people assume opposition means they are off track. In reality, resistance often confirms direction. Throughout history, those preparing for greater purpose faced inner and outer challenges just before advancement. The pressure refined focus. The delay sharpened discernment. The test revealed commitment. The goal was never to stop them, but to see whether they would stay attentive when comfort was removed. This is why January functions like a spiritual checkpoint. It asks whether you will remain alert or drift into autopilot. Autopilot feels easy, but it leads nowhere new. Growth requires awareness. God often speaks quietly, not because the message lacks importance, but because attentiveness builds maturity. When you learn to recognize His guidance without dramatic signals, you become ready for greater responsibility. One of the most common traps during transition periods is familiarity. Familiar routines, familiar struggles, familiar thinking. They feel safe because they are known, even when they are limiting. Yet, God does not repeat seasons without purpose. When a season ends, it is because its lesson has been delivered. Returning to it only delays the next assignment. January is asking you to recognize what has already taught you enough and no longer needs to be repeated. You may notice an urge to settle, to lower expectations, to tell yourself that progress can wait. That voice often sounds practical, but it carries no vision. Vision always carries movement. Even rest, when directed by God, prepares you for action. Settling, however, freezes growth. This is why discernment matters now more than ever. Not every calm feeling is peace, and not every discomfort is danger. Sometimes discomfort signals growth trying to emerge. Chosen one, spiritual maturity includes recognizing when comfort has become a cage. God does not remove comfort to punish, He removes it to expand capacity. If you have felt restless lately, that restlessness may be calling you higher. Growth often begins with dissatisfaction toward what once felt enough. That dissatisfaction is not ingratitude, it is hunger for more alignment. During these moments, it becomes essential to guard your input, what you listen to, what you watch, what you rehearse internally. Transition seasons require clarity, and clarity weakens when the mind is cluttered. Noise numbs discernment. Silence sharpens it. This does not mean withdrawing from life, but it does mean choosing intentionally. Elevation demands focus. This is also the season to examine obedience in small things. Many wait for dramatic instructions while ignoring quiet ones, yet large assignments are built on small responses. How you handle daily discipline reveals readiness for greater trust. Faithfulness now creates stability later. God watches consistency long before visibility increases. You may feel tempted to compare your progress to others. Resist that urge. Comparison distorts perspective. Your timing is specific. Your training is tailored. What looks delayed may actually be precise preparation. God does not rush formation. He strengthens what will carry weight. When elevation arrives, you will need endurance, not just excitement. This is also a moment to address unresolved matters, lingering resentment, delayed forgiveness, neglected responsibilities. These things drain energy quietly. Release restores focus. Forgiveness is not approval, it is freedom. Letting go does not excuse the past, it prepares you for the future. January invites clearing, not because God demands perfection, but because clarity increases capacity. If this message is stirring conviction, let it move you toward action, not guilt. Conviction points forward. Guilt keeps you stuck. Respond with humility and courage. Make the adjustment. Have the conversation. Recommit to the discipline. Return to prayer, not as a ritual, but as a relationship. Speak honestly. Listen patiently. Trust grows where honesty lives. Engage with this message actively. Ask yourself what shift God may be highlighting. Share your reflections. Encourage others walking through similar seasons. Growth multiplies in community. When one person responds, others gain courage to respond as well. What comes next will focus on how to respond practically to this warning and how obedience now opens doors later. Stay attentive. Stay receptive. This message is unfolding with purpose.
This final phase is about response. Awareness without movement changes nothing. Heaven always watches how people respond to insight, because response reveals readiness. January is not only a signal, it is an invitation to realign quickly and intentionally. Delay carries consequences not because God is harsh, but because timing matters. When doors open, they do not remain open indefinitely. Discernment shows you the door. Obedience moves your feet toward it. Some people wait for certainty before acting, yet certainty often follows obedience, not the other way around. Faith has always required movement before clarity. Those who advanced spiritually throughout history did not possess full understanding at the start. They stepped forward with trust, and understanding followed. God honors movement rooted in sincerity. Even imperfect obedience carries power when the heart is aligned. This is the season to simplify your focus. Too many goals dilute momentum. Too many voices weaken clarity. Identify what God is pressing most strongly right now and give it priority. Focus does not mean neglecting everything else. It means ordering your life around what matters most. When order is restored, peace follows naturally. Pay attention to urgency without panic. God never drives through fear. His urgency carries peace beneath it. Fear pushes you to rush blindly. Divine urgency sharpens awareness and calls you higher. If you feel pressure mixed with clarity rather than confusion, that is guidance. Respond calmly but decisively. Action in this season may feel small, yet small steps carry large consequences when taken at the right time. One decision can shift an entire year. One act of obedience can unlock momentum. One moment of humility can restore direction. God often works through simple adjustments that produce lasting change. This is also the time to speak life over your future intentionally. Words shape direction. What you repeat internally becomes belief. What you believe influences behavior. Speak alignment, not limitation. Speak progress, not delay. This is not about denying reality, it is about declaring truth over it. Your words should agree with where God is leading, not where fear wants you to remain. You may still feel resistance, but resistance does not mean retreat. Strength develops through engagement. Every step taken despite hesitation builds confidence. Courage grows through practice. God meets you in motion. He supplies strength as you move, not before you begin. Let go of the need to explain your obedience to everyone. Not all alignment will be understood. Some people will question your changes because it disrupts their expectations. Growth often creates distance from those committed to familiarity. That distance is not rejection, it is transition. God sometimes separates to prepare. As January draws to a close, let intentionality increase. Review your habits, examine your schedule, remove what drains focus, strengthen what builds discipline. Return to daily prayer not as obligation, but as conversation. Speak honestly, listen quietly. Trust develops in consistency. This warning was never meant to instill fear, it was sent as mercy. Mercy provides time to adjust before consequences arrive. When God warns, He also provides grace to respond. You are not late if you move now. You are not behind if you align today. Restoration often begins with a single decision made sincerely. Chosen one, your life carries purpose beyond survival. You were created to advance, to grow, to impact. Seasons shift whether people prepare or not. Wisdom prepares. Faith responds. Obedience positions you to receive what is already prepared for you. If this message resonates, do not keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs clarity. Engage with this community. Speak your response. Declare your decision. Alignment strengthens when voiced. Let others know you are choosing growth. Stay connected for continued encouragement and guidance. This journey is not meant to be walked alone. Strength multiplies through unity. Faith grows through shared testimony. January is speaking clearly. You heard the warning for a reason. Respond with faith. Move with intention. Walk forward with confidence. What lies ahead carries promise, strength, and purpose. If you are ready, make it known. Like the message, share it, and declare in the comments that you heard the warning and are choosing alignment. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a new level.